Hello everybody, I apologize for the empty space back here, but I'm having some new furniture delivered tomorrow and I needed to clear away the bookshelf and the old sofa, which is going to sofa heaven. I had to clear some space out to make room for the new sofa that's being delivered tomorrow, so for the time being, this is all empty space back here, and hopefully it'll look better once the new furniture gets here. But got a few things to go over in this video, namely my top 10 matches for the month of September. And my pay-per-view reviews for both Ring of Honor AllStar Extravaganza 8, which happened on September 30th, and TNA's Bound for Glory 2016, which happened this past Sunday, October 2nd. I guess I'll just go right into the pay-per-view reviews. Overall, I thought both shows were alright. They were solid enough. I think, shockingly so, I think the TNA pay-per-view was probably a little bit more memorable. The Ring of Honor show had quite a few matches that kind of left me feeling flat, but finished strong with a very strong main event. Bound for Glory had a couple nice moments, one match in particular that is definitely worth talking about, and overall was probably about as good as TNA can deliver at this point. But I guess if I had to pick the better show, I probably enjoyed Bound for Glory a little bit more, but neither show was a pay-per-view of the year contender in my mind. But also, I want to make this point clear. I am not going to talk about the rumored sale of TNA and all the rumors going around that WWE had purchased TNA or that Billy Corgan was going to buy TNA and all these other things going on. I'm not going to comment on it until something happens. So until something is concrete, I'm not going to speculate or throw my 2 cents out there. I want to wait until something a little bit more concrete comes out. I know they taped Impact this week. I actually had some of it spoiled for me, unfortunately. But it was, it was kind of a crazy week for TNA last week because the news boards were just buzzing all around that, WWE's going to buy TNA, and, Billy Corgan's going to buy TNA, or this other guy's going to buy TNA, or this is going to buy TNA, or whatever. And it kind of gave a negative impression heading into the pay-per-view, again, unfortunately. But, they got through the pay-per-view by another miracle. I swear to God, TNA has 9 lives. I remember when Victory Road 2011 happened, and I was even speculating, saying that the whole Sting-Jeff Hardy match that went down the way it did, I thought that was going to be the killer that would kill TNA. Yeah, that was 5.5 years ago. So TNA just won't die. It's a really strange thing. But in any case, I don't want to speculate too much on if TNA is going to be bought out, who's going to buy them out or whatever, until I actually hear something more concrete and we have something confirmed. So that's all I'm going to say about the matter. But Ring of Honor AllStar Extravaganza 8. Like I said, I really like the main event, and I'll do the matches in order. I'll get to that last, or at least I'm trying to pull the match order from my memory as best as possible. But overall, a lot of the matches kind of left me feeling flat, which is unfortunate. I don't know why that is. I don't know what happened, but the matches just didn't do it for me, except for the main event. That was the only one that I could find myself really, really getting invested in for the long haul. But getting started, we had Bobby Fish defending the ROH TV title against Donovan Dijak. Again, I like both guys, and I expected this to be a really good match. I don't know, something about it just seemed off. I don't know what it was. I just couldn't get super invested in the match. I don't know why. And I don't have an explanation for it. I just couldn't find myself investing in the match all that strongly. But like I said, I like both guys. I think they're both very talented, but it just, whatever it was, it just didn't click with me this night. Bobby Fish retained, which is probably the right choice. Moving on from there, we had the 4-way tag for number 1 contendership to the Ring of Honor tag titles. It was Colt Cabana and Dalton Castle who ultimately won the thing, versus War Machine versus the All Night Express representing the Cabinet. And I guess I'll talk about the Cabinet because they're obviously doing a Donald Trump thing. I don't mind trying to be topical, but what Kenny King and Rhett Titus are doing seems very, very forced, and once the election is over, it's going to seem very dated. It's kind of like, although not as bad as this, it's kind of like when TNA had Daphne doing a Sarah Palin impression. It's not that the Palin impression was bad, it was actually quite good. The problem was that they were doing it after the election, which made no sense, because the election's over by that point. you're kind of behind the times on that one. So I'm worried that that's going to happen with the All Night Express's current gimmick. Once the election's over, whether Trump wins or loses, we'll find out in November. But once that happens, it's going to be like, well, Kenny King and Red Titus are kind of stuck without a fresh gimmick now. But again, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. The fourth team on here was Keith Lee and Shane Taylor, kind of a newish tag team that's two big, burly, badass guys that are currently feuding with War Machine. I have to say, I actually quite like them. I like War Machine. They're more of a power team, and they provide something different to Ring of Honor that most of their tag teams don't bring to the table. And now you brought in the second group of bruisers in Lee and Taylor, and I think they work quite well together, and I want to see like an official match between the two. They did have a match on Ring of Honor television, but it ended in a DQ, so obviously we're going to build to something even bigger. I enjoyed the match just for all the tag teams on display and some of the spots that they did. But I thought War Machine and Lee and Taylor kind of stole the show, and I'm looking forward to kind of a big brawling tag match in the near future. I think they could really have something fun and cool. I did enjoy the 4-way tag. I believe next was it Dragon Lee versus Kamachi. I think that was next. I've never seen any of their prior matches. I've heard they've had very, excellent matches with each other. Kevin Kelly was definitely putting them over on commentary in some of the previous bouts that they'd had. This was another match. I thought it was a little sloppy at points, and I just couldn't find myself getting into it. And maybe it's because I'm not overly familiar with both guys, but I just couldn't find myself getting into the match. It was really, I was kind of disappointed with it. But especially with all the hype saying, it's like, oh, the matches these two have together are amazing. And I just kind of thought, it was all right. And again, shrugging the shoulders and going, this was all right is kind of a common theme with the matches here. Speaking of, next match was Kyle O'Reilly versus Hangman Page, as he's going by now, the Thug of the Bullet Club. And it was, again, I expected them to have this really crazy, wild match, because that seemed to be what they were building to, and it was very ordinary. I don't know. I did like the ending where Kyle O'Reilly won and got the quick tap out on Hangman Page, and then Hangman just immediately attacked him right after the match. I do like that. It's a good way to get heat back on the heel, even in defeat. So the feud's obviously going to continue moving past this point, but the match itself was just kind of mediocre and disappointingly quick too. Next up, I believe, was the 6-man tag. They're doing, okay, I got to go on this rant. Ring of Honor's doing a 6-man tag title, and they're getting to a point where they have too many belts, especially when you consider that they share so much time with the New Japan talents, whose belts are also, I guess, could be defended. And they go over to Japan and defend their belts. The Ring of Honor World title was just recently defended at the Destruction shows in New Japan. So there's just too many belts floating around. Between the two companies, there's just way too many belts. And I said the same thing when New Japan created the never open-weight 6-man tag titles. It's like, guys, if everybody has a belt, then nobody's special, right? It takes the speciality of having a belt by having so many belts all over the place. And they're also kind of doing what WWE is doing right now by dividing Raw and SmackDown's tag divisions. You really undercut the level of depth that your division has. Now you have a bunch of guys competing in the 6-man tag division, but they've also got to split their time between the regular tag division. It's just, I don't know. It's just, they're cutting into they're basically cutting their tag team roster in half by doing that. And, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how they handle that once the tournament's over, but again, it's just too many belts. Even Lucha Underground, they don't have a lot of guys for their trios tag division. Their storylines are so good, nobody seems to notice, but I don't think they've ever had more than 4 3-man teams at a time, so it's very hard to keep depth in a tag team division, especially when you have to have 2 extra bodies in there, especially when you have a second set of tag titles running around. So, not a fan of Ring of Honor doing the 6-man tag titles, and this match, again, It was the Briscoes and Toru Yano versus Jay White, Super ACH, and Kushida. Solid match for what it was, action-packed. You got a few comedy spots out of Yano and a few things like that, so it was fun for what it was. I thought for sure the Briscoes and Yano were going to win, but actually Jay White, Super ACH, and Kushida got the win and will advance in the tournament, and we'll see more as the tournament continues, I guess. I assume the finals will probably happen whenever Ring of Honor's next major pay-per-view event is, but it was fine for what it was. Then you get into kind of the big main event matches. We had Jay Lethal versus Tetsuya Naito, which I thought was going to be an incredible match. And again, it wasn't. I thought they set it up well on TV with Naito walking out on Lethal when Naito was his tag partner in a six-man tag against the Bullet Club. And I thought that was a good way to kind of set up the feud and give Lethal something in between before going straight back into the world title picture. And the match was fine, except when you put Naito and Lethal together, my expectations are a lot higher, and to me, this match just didn't live up to that. It was nice to see Lethal get a win and kind of rebuild himself after losing the title to Adam Cole, but the match itself was just kind of meh. And again, Ring of Honor World title match, Adam Cole versus Michael Elgin. I didn't expect a title change here, and that you always run that risk whenever you do a title match immediately after the title victory. 9 times out of 10, you just know that... especially if it's a heel, you just know that the title's not going to change hands in that first title defense. But you gotta, it's kind of like ripping off a Band-Aid. You got to do it at some point. You got to get the first title defense under their belt. So I was fine with them doing the match, even though I didn't expect a title change. I thought Elgin and Cole would mesh together well, and it was just okay. It wasn't a blow me out of the water type of match. It was just kind of okay, kind of solid. So going into the main event, I felt like the show was kind of on the mediocre side. And then you get the main event. Ring of Honor tag titles on the line. The Addiction versus Motor City Machine Guns versus the Young Bucks in the 6th ladder war that Ring of Honor does, and or that Ring of Honor has done. And I have to say, major props to Ring of Honor for promoting a gimmick match properly, because far too often nowadays, I'll use Ultimate X as an example, I'll use WWE's gimmicky pay-per-views as an example, like, Hell in a Cell's coming up, but going back when they were doing things like, even the way they would kind of promote things like Money in the Bank, which do have weight to it, Survivor Series, those 8-man elimination matches have lost all meaning. It's just a spectacle. It's like, it's a gimmick that they use to try and draw people in, but there's no proper context to anything. And a ladder match to me is one of those matches that should be sold as, this is super dangerous, and guys could get super, super hurt doing this. And that's how Ring of Honor presented it. They mentioned, like, we don't do these matches often. They're super dangerous. We move the commentary table up the aisleway and away from the action because we fear for their safety. We're worried about these guys' careers being shortened or ended because of a match like this. That's how you sell a gimmick match. That's not, oh, hey, go watch the cool high-wire spectacle of all these flips and dives. It's like, no, this is super dangerous and guys could get hurt. And that's how you promote a gimmick match, because that's what makes it feel like it has stakes, and that's what makes it feel like the guys are really putting something on the line. If it feels like there's a chance that they could get hurt, and if they're really putting themselves in a really dangerous situation. And the beating that Christopher Daniels took in this match, I mean, good God, man. Everybody made sure to point out his age, 46 years old, and he's taking those type of bumps, blading like that, and just putting his body through that type of stuff in a ladder match. I was like, kudos to you, man, because I'm not even going to describe the spots. Just go back and watch it. It was crazy, and some of the stuff they did. And the Young Bucks, anybody who's watched my videos knows that I'm very critical of the Young Bucks. Their high-spotty, free-for-all style really takes me out of regular tag matches, because I sit there and watch them do all these double teams, and I'm the asshole sitting on the couch going, why the hell have they not been disqualified yet? They should have been disqualified like 5 minutes ago. And they do not operate within the rules of tag team wrestling at all, and it makes their matches just impossible to engage in, at least for me. I prefer watching a team like the Revival, who are very old school and work within the structure of a tag team match to create the most exciting match possible. The Young Bucks just throw the rules right out the window and just do whatever flips and dives they want to do to make the smart marks pop for the big spots, and that's it. And In a regular tag match, that bothers me. In a ladder match, which is designed to be a free-for-all, and it's okay to be a spot fest, it does not bother me, and the Young Bucks are right at home. So this is a match that definitely played to their strengths, and some of the spots they did were insane. Like, some of the spike pile drivers they did, and some of the falls they took off the ladder through the table, and all types of crazy stuff. They were definitely the highlight of the match, because like I said, this match definitely plays into their strengths. I have to say, the Motor City Machine Guns did not impress me here. They felt absent for most of the match, and I don't know why that is. I would have been okay with it if the Machine Guns had won, if they didn't do as much as everybody else, and because everybody else got beat the holy shit, they just managed to win. Edge and Christian always kind of had that aspect to them. Go back and watch the WrestleMania 2000 ladder matches. Edge and Christian don't do as much as the Hardys or the Dudleys, which I kind of like, because that opened the door for them to win. Because, I like that. But the Motor City Machine Guns didn't win, so they just kind of felt like a non-factor in all this. If it had just been the Addiction and the Young Bucks, I think I would have liked it just as well. So, but anyway, I thought the match was very, very good, very exciting, and very pay-per-view main event worthy, and they wisely closed with the most exciting match, knowing that this was the big gimmick match and that this was going to be the most memorable match on the show. So, kudos to Ring of Honor. The show had a few matches that didn't work for me, but the main event, I felt like they closed very well. So if you want to do one thing on a wrestling pay-per-view right, do the main event right, because that's the stuff that people are going to remember, and it's the last impression of the show. So it's very important. And overall, I thought the main event was very good. Rest of the show, but they finished strong, and that's what counts. And with that, let's jump into TNA Bound for Glory 2016, TNA Impact Wrestling's biggest pay-per-view event of the year. Like I said, there were more things on this show that made it more memorable than the Ring of Honor show, but there was still plenty of stuff that fell flat for me and didn't really work. But there was also some stuff that I remembered and will remember, and I thought came off quite well. So it's kind of a mixed bag show overall with some really good stuff on it. So maybe I'm thinking a little bit more positively towards it than most other people will, but getting things started, we had opening match was the X Division title match, DJZ defending against Trevor Lee. This match had very little to no promotion behind it, and where the hell is Gregory Helms? I feel like he hasn't been there with Andrew Everett and Trevor Lee for a while. I don't know. Any word on what he's doing? And they still refer to them as the Helms Dynasty, but I haven't seen Shane Helms around, so I don't know what's going on there. But in any case, yeah, these two went out there, had a match with little to no promotion, little to no build-up, and so they just went out there and had a crazy cruiserweight match. And it was actually kind of refreshing to see an X Division match that wasn't just, hey, let's cram 4, 5, or 6 small guys in there and have them flip and dive all over the place in a match that makes no sense. It was at least a one-on-one match, and they were able to put together something a little bit more substantial and something a little bit better than what we're used to seeing. The X Division is still not in what I would call a great place. They definitely need more talents, and they definitely need to get back to making it feel like it's a worthy attraction for TNA. DJZ, I like that guy as a talent overall, but he needs some more guys around him. Trevor Lee's not bad either, and this match they had was an indicator of that. They actually went out there and had a good match. Some of the stomps they did to each other were pretty sick too, like some of the variations of that they did. But overall, they still have a lot of work to do to get towards fixing the X Division, but for one match, I thought that this was a solid and a fine way to open up the show. Next up was the Bound for Gold Royal Rumble ripoff match with Grado doing the Bushwhacker Luke spot. Winner of this match will receive a title shot in the future. 15 guys in it. I'd be hard-pressed to try and remember every single person that was in this thing. What I will comment on is the winner, Eli Drake. I think that was the right move because he was definitely the best guy in the match. And I've talked about Eli Drake before. I think the guy's kind of a natural at performing, and he projects his character very, very well. And I don't know. He always does things that I'm very impressed with, and he comes across very comfortably and very, very good in whatever he does. And I think he's kind of one of those diamonds in the rough over there on TNA, and it makes me wonder what he would be like if he maybe had a bigger platform. Maybe if he was in WWE or something like that, he'd probably do really well. But Who knows? But yeah, I think he was the right choice to win the Battle Royal, and it'll be interesting to see what title scene he ultimately gets into. But it'll be fun either way, because I think Eli Drake is a very fun talent and has plenty of room for growth and development. I mean that in a good way. He's like, right now he's on the upswing, and there's plenty of room for him to try new things and to develop and grow as a talent. And I'm kind of interested in seeing it, because I like the guy. Next up was the battle of former Ring of Honor talents, Moose taking on the Miracle Mike Bennett. These are two guys that I like. I think Mike Bennett has been a positive addition for TNA, and I think Moose was a good pickup for them, even though he's still kind of finding his way. They brought him in as a heel initially, which I thought was a mistake. I think Moose is just a generally likable talent and likable presentation. I thought his entrance was pretty cool, too, where he had the football players kind of do a cheer and chant for him, leading him out there. And he's just naturally likable, and I think bringing him in as a heel initially was a huge mistake, and they corrected it fairly quickly. This match was, again, it was okay. You got a few cool things out of Moose, and he picked up the win, which I think was the right move overall. You could set him up. You could do a match between him and Lashley at some point, which I think would be a nice kind of powerhouse match for TNA to do. This match was okay. It was one of those matches that probably should have been better than it was, but just didn't really click in a huge way. But the right guy went over, so it's okay, I guess. And that's all there is to say. Next up was something that I did not like at all. The finals to the Grand Championship tournament. This is a new championship that Billy Corgan has cooked up for TNA, where the match structure of the Grand Championship matches will be 3 5-minute rounds. I think they upped it to 5. Originally, it was 3 3-minute rounds, and they've upped it to 5 minutes per round, which will probably be better. But my major problem with this, and I'm not trying to be a negative Nelly here, and I do appreciate trying new things and trying to, experiment and basically just try something different. I'm a proponent of that. It's one of the reasons I respect Lucha Underground. It's one of the reasons I respect Broken Matt Hardy. It's one of the reasons I respect, even to some degree, I respect Vince Russo, because Vince Russo's the guy that'll be like, well, fuck it, let's try it and see if it works. And Russo's problem is that if it doesn't work, he'll just keep doing it again and again and again for whatever goddamn reason. He never learns his lesson. That's the idea. When you make a mistake, you're supposed to learn not to do that again. And Russo's the type of guy that'll just keep doing the same fucking thing over and over again. But I respect his effort for trying, if nothing else. So, and I'll even make this comparison to Ring of Honor. I was one of the ones that actually liked the Ring of Honor Pure title. I know a lot of people didn't because they thought that the match structure was too confusing or too hard to follow. To me, if you can't keep track of 3 rope breaks or count to 20, I don't know what to tell you. To me, it's not that confusing, and a lot of fans hated it, so Ring of Honor ultimately unified the 2 belts, but okay. I personally didn't think it was that big of a deal, but whatever. And things like the Bound for Glory series, which I was really high on, and I wish TNA had kept doing it and just kept... it was one of those things, they never quite got it completely right, and I felt like there were things they could have done to improve it, but I liked the initial concept, but fans said that the scoring was too confusing, and I'm like, what? Dude, it takes 5 minutes to... I mean, not even 5 minutes. All I have to do is read the screen. I'm like, okay, got it. You get this many points for a pin. You get this many points for a submission. You get this many points for a DQ. You lose 10 points because of a DQ, blah, 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 all that other stuff. It's like, okay, I got it. I understand. I couldn't understand. The only thing I couldn't understand about it was how so many people were confused by it. Anything with numbers seems to confuse wrestling fans. I don't understand it. But to me, to bring it back to the Pure title, if you can keep track of how many timeouts in football, like, I really don't need the counter on the graphic on the screen when I watch football. I know how many timeouts are left. And I don't know. It's just weird to me that people can't keep track of minor details. But in any case, so yeah, I like trying new things, being different, and trying to be innovative and experiment a little bit. That said, the Grand Championship is not going to work. First of all, I have absolutely no idea how the scoring of this even fucking works. It feels like the scoring was devised by people who watched MMA a couple of times and just assumed that the scoring was random without actually trying to understand how the scoring works. So that's what they're doing here. And the scoring makes no sense. It's just random numbers that they throw up there. They were even inconsistent with the numbers at points. And by structuring the matches in rounds, it, to me, takes away from the flow of the match. And these guys are trained to actually tell stories over an extended period of time. And throwing the round format in there kind of cuts into that, and it throws them off their grooves a little bit. There was never any point during this match, and it was Aaron Rex, formerly Damian Sandow, and Eddie Edwards subbing for the injured Drew Galloway. That was another thing that hurt this match. The feud was between Aaron Rex and Drew Galloway, but Drew being hurt and had to be taken out of the match, that kind of threw that whole story and made it irrelevant to this match. So that also hurt it. But, and again, both guys were trying. I don't blame them for this. It just, they couldn't get into a rhythm because they're constantly having to stop every 5 minutes because of the rounds. And I think that they don't know how to work that kind of structure into a match. And maybe that's something they need to figure out. But at the same time, I just feel like it's so... I just don't think the structure of these matches are going to work. And even if you look at something like the Rocky movies, normally they'll give you the first round, maybe the first 2 rounds, and then everything else is kind of this streamlined montage to make it all look like it's all going in real time. And then you get the last round. But, they cut out all the in-between the round stuff and just show you the fight and let the story play out naturally. And here I feel like you kind of lose that with the grand title matches, and I just don't see it working. That said, I think the belt looks kind of nice. I was like, that's a nice looking belt, the hexagon belt. That's a sweet looking belt. I also like that it's not blue or purple or red or some other fucking color that makes me think of fruit roll-ups. It's nice to see it like a normal fucking color for a wrestling belt. But anyway, yeah, this match didn't work. Oh, I should also note the lights went out at one point, which led to some funny chants, pay the light bill, and then thank you, Billy, when the lights came back on, which was kind of funny. But yeah, this match didn't really do it for me. None of the grand title tournament matches really do it for me. I just don't see this structure of match really working. But we'll see. Aaron Rex won the title via split decision. That's okay, I guess. I mean, they obviously want to make something out of Damian Sandow, or the former Damian Sandow, Aaron Rex. I think that's fine. He's a very good talent, obviously. So they want to build those type of matches around him. At least they're putting a good talent in a good spot to do that. I just don't like the structure of the matches. That's my problem with it. But in any case, that match happened. And then I believe next was Gail Kim's Hall of Fame induction, which was actually very nice. It was... they brought out some old faces to, kind of honor Gail Kim on her big night. They brought out Christy Hemme, they brought out Taryn Terrell, and they brought out Awesome Kong, who was a very nice surprise. That was cool to see her. And all to honor Gail Kim and let Gail Kim have her moment in the sun as she was inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame. Now, I know a lot of people don't take the TNA Hall of Fame very seriously because it's just... I think some people just see it as TNA trying to copy WWE. I'm sure there's some truth to that. But very much like the WWE's Hall of Fame, there is that kind of like, oh, that's nice that they honor these, these legendary talents or whatever. And Gail is a talent, first Knockouts champion. She was really the one that, to me, gave TNA the reason to do a Knockouts division or a women's division. Before, the current women's or Divas Revolution that you're seeing in WWE right now, long before that, TNA was kind of the first mainstream wrestling product. I'm sure, indie feds were doing it too, but for the mainstream wrestling products that had a national TV deal, TNA was really the first one to kind of go, hey, let's present the women like they're real people and real characters and not screaming bitches or whores or, supermodels or whatever. Because that was a hard reputation for the women wrestlers to get over. The whole Attitude Era period of tits and ass and puppies and pudding matches and gravy bowl matches and all that other crap. But I mean, some were able to rise above it, like Lita and Trish Stratus, obviously, but it was very hard to overcome that reputation, and TNA did their best in the early days of the Knockout division, really did their best to give the Knockouts personalities, give them characters, and put Gail Kim in a spot where she could deliver the best she can, and show off the best of her abilities and kind of be a nice focal point for the division. Her matches with Awesome Kong, since, on the subject of Awesome Kong, the matches they had together really reminded me of Sting and Vader. And if you've watched my videos at all, you know I love Sting Vader matches. And I thought Kong and Gail had some excellent matches with each other. The one, which pay-per-view was it? I want to say it was Final Resolution 2008, where they had the No Holds Barred match, Falls Count Anywhere match. That match was incredible and was one of the best matches in TNA history, I think. And so it was nice to see Gail Kim have her moment in the sun, and it was a very nice moment, very nice speech from her, and it was just nice. It was just very nice and pleasant, and it was cool to see Gail Kim get the respect that she deserves. So, again, major thumbs up for all of that. That was fun. Now, the big thing I want to talk about, the Great War for the TNA Tag Team Championship, the Broken Hardys versus Decay. First of all, the Hardy Boys entrance was amazing. I love that entrance with Rebby playing on the piano while dressed like something out of a Tim Burton. Well, I guess they're all dressed like something out of a Tim Burton movie, but she really reminded me of kind of like Gina Davis at the end of Beetlejuice when they're having the seance that's like exorcising them from the house. It kind of better yet, Winona Ryder in the red dress, Lydia, about to marry Beetlejuice. That's probably a better one, but I thought the entrance was very cool, and then Jeff Hardy came out and started singing, I fade away and classify myself as obsolete. The Hardy Boys, at this stage of their career, have taken two words from the English language, delete and obsolete, and gotten them over like fucking gangbusters, more than anything the TNA has been able to do in the last few years. And I just love the presentation, I love the whole act, I just love it. It's so kooky and weird and crazy, and I talk about how much I love experimentation and trying new things. This is just Matt and Jeff, doing what they want to do and letting their creative juices flow, and it's very entertaining and it works. And I've heard all the rumors that WWE is interested in picking up Broken Matt Hardy. I honestly don't think it would work as well in WWE because WWE would try to control it and have the writers try to write for Broken Matt Hardy, and I think the only one that understands Broken Matt Hardy is Matt Hardy. He would have to write his own material for it to work, and that shows in this match. Decay and the Broken Hardys. Oh, and another thing I want to talk about, I love the character development for Jeff Hardy, because the way the story was going to go following the final deletion, I thought was that, okay, they're going to do the old thing where the babyface is in control, is in the heel's control, and he has to break out of it, and he'll win the next big match, which I thought was going to be at Bound for Glory, and Jeff will have his big hero moment where he wins his freedom back. They didn't do that at all. They actually gave Jeff Hardy character development where Matt Hardy drove him so crazy that he became broken too, and now he walks around referring to himself as Brother Nero and saying he is obsolete. So Matt Hardy broke him, and now and I guess Jeff Hardy got to a point where he's like, well, fuck it, if you can't beat him, join him. So now he's just as crazy as Matt, and it's really good, and it took a twist in the story that I wasn't expecting, and we got this entertaining match out of it. What I felt like the next step was after the final deletion, and I didn't talk about in my videos about, I guess you could call it the sequel, Delete or Decay. I did live tweet about it. That one didn't work as well because it felt a little too similar to the final deletion and not enough like something that could stand on its own. It also wasn't a match. That was the other thing. It was just Decay invading Matt Hardy's home, which was fun and kooky and weird, but it wasn't a match. So what made the final deletion so great was that this is a wrestling match that's being presented in this completely crazy way. And I felt like the next step from that would have been to incorporate the live arena action with some of that crazy theatrical stuff and cinematic stuff that they do. Kind of blend the two worlds and see if you can do that. And that's what this match did, where you got the in-ring action, you got all the craziness associated with that, And especially towards the end where you got Rebby powerbombing Rosemary through a table, and Matt Hardy lifting his restriction on Jeff and telling him to go feed his addiction by jumping off ladders through tables and putting Crazy Steve through that, and the barbed wire and the thumbtacks and all that craziness. So you got all that, but then you go to when they brawled to the backstage area and into the parking lot and throughout Orlando, they got some crazy stuff out of that, like Matt Hardy being able to throw fire at Janice and Vanguard 1 doing a run-in, and the only thing missing was Senior Benjamin. Jeff Hardy transforming into Willow, them hijacking a car, and Abyss, Matt Hardy's driving a car all around, and Abyss is trapped in the back seat, or the loading bed. And it's like, the legacy of the King of the Road match will never die. And just all the insanity that just went along with this whole match. Combined craziness in the ring with all the cinematic craziness that the Hardys have been known for at this point, through the final deletion, delete and decay, and all the other crazy backstage segments that they've done. So, it was crazy, it was violent, it was memorable, it was weird, it was everything that the Broken Hardy Boy stuff has kind of been known for. So if you like things like the final deletion or delete and decay or the other things that the Broken Hardys have done, this is right up your alley, and I was entertained by it. It was so strange and so weird and so crazy that it was the most interesting thing on the entire show and kind of made the pay-per-view for me. It was a lot of fun to watch. It's crazy and weird, and not everybody is going to be into it, but if you are into this stuff, I think that this match is required viewing, and you need to see it. So, I really enjoyed that. Next up was the Knockouts title match, Gail Kim challenging Maria Kanellis. This was fine for doing the whole thing where the heel gets her comeuppance, because they've been building it up for months where Gail wants to just rip Maria to shreds and just was never able to get her hands on her. Now she did, and Gail got her revenge and won her 6th Knockouts title, which was all very cool. I do have to say, though, I'm not the biggest fan of Allie as a character because she seems so stupid that... Actually, if I had to compare it to anything, it reminds me of Chris Hemsworth from the new Ghostbusters movie. You get to a point where it's like, okay, this dude is so stupid. I'm sitting there wondering how he functions. And Allie is so cartoonishly dumb, without any subtlety or endearing qualities, I don't think, anyway, that it's just, I'm just looking at her going, all right, honey, how do you function? And we're supposed to feel sorry for her because Maria is just so abusive to her, but it's just, she's so dumb, I just can't, I don't know, I just can't kind of empathize with her because I don't really see her as a real person, because I can't believe that a person like this actually exists. But other than that, I thought the match was fine for what it was. Just give the healer comeuppance. Again, it also helps that Maria was not humiliated week after week after week after week, so it actually felt cool when Gail did it. And, that old crazy old school wrestling booking that I talk about is you can't have the heel get humiliated every week. You gotta let him keep his heat, or her heat in this case. And that's what they did with Maria, and the payoff felt fine. It was fun, and I enjoyed it. And the post-match, we saw Cody Rhodes make his TNA debut with his wife, Brandy, who looks great, by the way. I'm just saying, I don't know if she can actually work. Maybe she can, I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see what they do. I'm assuming we're going to be getting some mixed tags out of this whole scenario, since Cody came out and attacked Mike Bennett and Brandy went after Maria, so we'll probably get something there. And that's fine. Good introductory feud for Cody. Hopefully he has a good run in TNA and they're able to do something good with him. And next up was the main event. Ethan Carter III challenging Bobby Lashley for the TNA World Heavyweight title. I felt like the tag title match kind of stole its thunder. Again, this maybe they should have closed with the Great War, because that was the match that had the most promotion. And actually, they did the opening video with Matt Hardy and his son playing. Matt Hardy's playing the piano and his son is playing a tiny little piano. It's like, oh my god, that kid is gonna have memories of this, and they're gonna resurface in his teenage years as horrible fever dreams. It's gonna be really weird, but. I felt like maybe they should have considered closing with the tag match. Not that the main event was bad. It wasn't bad. It was actually pretty good. It just didn't live up to the Great War in any way. So, and it didn't help that there wasn't a title change. Not that I have a problem with Lashley retaining. because they've done a good job of convincingly building him up as unbeatable. Although I did catch a spoiler from the recent TNA tapings. I won't give it away, but it kind of negates this main event a little bit. But yeah, I thought the match was fine. I thought Ethan and Lashley worked well together. And like I said, they've done a pretty good job of building up Lashley as somebody that's seemingly unbeatable. And there were some hard shots in this match. I really liked the finish where Lashley just came off the top rope and hit him with a spear. It looked like he fucking killed him. And that looked cool. And so it was overall a good match. I just wish that the Great War had come last, because I think that was the match that everybody wanted to see anyway. But in any case, Bound for Glory, like I said, there was some stuff that fell flat. I didn't really like the Gran Championship match, and the Battle Royal was meh, even though I liked who went over. But stuff like the Great War and Gail Kim's Hall of Fame induction and a few things like that made it overall a worthwhile show. And overall it was entertaining, especially, like I said, the Great War. If you like that kind of stuff, it's must-see. So between the two pay-per-views, I would say definitely check out Ladder War 6 and definitely check out the Great War. Those are definitely the two matches to check out from these two shows. So, like I said, neither show was great or stellar, or, when I do my end of the year video, they won't get any consideration for pay-per-view of the year, but they had their fun moments and were overall not terrible, so we'll say that. Okay, and let's close things up with my top 10 matches for the month of September 2016. All right, let's take those off, put the glasses on, and get to reading. All right, what matches did I select this month in my infinite wisdom? Okay. All right, number 10, the first match from Season 3 of Lucha Underground. The Monster Matanza Cueto defending the Lucha Underground Championship, I should say, against Son of Havoc. This match was the debut of Dario's Dial of Doom, which he is now using to determine the Monster Matanza's opponents. So it was very cool to get that right off the bat, and I thought these two had a very good match where you wanted Son of Havoc to win, and they tried to make it look like he could, but in the end, the Monster's just too strong. You can't beat him. But overall, very entertaining match and a good way to reintroduce Lucha Underground for Season 3. Number 9, a match from Monday Night Raw. This was the September 12th episode. Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns. If Roman wins, he gets into the pay-per-view title match. Solid match. Again, very finisher festy overall, but, Raw typically doesn't have the best main events, and actually the steel cage match they had a few weeks later was dreadfully dull. Actually, it might have been the next week, I think. Yeah, it might have been the very next episode. But I thought this match was good, and of course, Kevin Owens went over, which was cool to see. So, because, they have to continue the Rusev-Reigns feud. So we kind of knew that Reigns wasn't going to win, but still, it was an entertaining match all the same. Number 8, Michael Elgin versus Tetsuya Naito for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship from New Japan Destruction in Kobe. It's funny, I saw the 3 Destruction shows, and the third show was probably the weakest one overall, but had my favorite match of the 3 shows, so go figure. Michael Elgin and Naito for the Intercontinental Championship, where Naito defeated Elgin to become the Intercontinental Champion. A very good match. A great clash of styles between the two. Very enjoyable, and Naito won the belt, which I thought was a good move. So, just good things all around. I just really liked it. Number 7, another Lucha Underground match. Pentagon Dark versus Rey Mysterio Jr. from the 9/7 episode of Lucha Underground. Their second episode of Season 3. Big main event, big names involved. My only real knock on it was that Pentagon didn't go over, because I felt like, again, you got to keep heat on your heels. And Pentagon, who's gone full Rudo now, he went 0-2 with that loss. And I'm like, that's not a good way to make the Monster look good, but they've managed to rebuild Pentagon a little bit by giving him a recent squash match victory over a certain undercover police officer. And but yeah, I thought the match was very entertaining. Ray looked really good in there. I think the limited schedule certainly helps, and Pentagon's new direction of making him about as dangerous as possible, I think, really makes him a more interesting and exciting character. So looking forward to see what they do with Pentagon moving forward. Number 6, The Addiction versus the Young Bucks versus the Motor City Machine Guns for the ROH tag titles in Ladder War 6 from AllStar Extravaganza. I already talked about it. It was a great main event. Probably my favorite Young Bucks match in God knows how long. Crazy, wild, violent, very, very good all around. Strong main event, and Ring of Honor did all the right things with this. Just really enjoyed it. All right, numbers 3, 4, and 5. No particular order with these. They're the 3 final matches from the Cruiserweight Classic. The 2 semifinals matches of Kota Ibushi versus TJ Perkins and Zack Sabre Jr. versus Gran Metalik. Those were the 2 semifinals matches, and then the finals of TJ Perkins versus Gran Metalik. We didn't know it at the start of the show, but they were actually setting up our first Cruiserweight champion for the return of the Cruiserweight division to Monday Night Raw. And, just a very good show all around. The entire show, the Cruiserweight Classic finals, was very well handled, and the added bonus for the finals when Triple H brought out the new Cruiserweight Championship belt and said the winner of this match is going to be the first Cruiserweight champion, that raised the stakes even more. And you even got some surprises in there. Like, I think a lot of us were expecting Ibushi and or Zack Sabre Jr. to advance, and neither one did. So you kind of had 2 underdogs going into the finals, which was interesting. And TJ Perkins felt like he'd been made into a megastar by the time that this was done. Unfortunately, that hasn't translated as well to Monday Night Raw yet. But again, we're still in the infancy of this Cruiserweight division, so we'll see how that goes. But for helping to create a complete show, this 2-hour finale was great, and these 3 matches were great, and exemplified all the action that you expect out of Cruiserweights, while also giving us plenty of emotion and excitement along the way. So, very good stuff all around. Number 2, Killshot versus Marty the Moth Martinez in a Weapons of Mass Destruction match from the 9/14 episode of Lucha Underground. Their best match of Season 3 so far. This was a feud that carried over from Season 2 when Marty the Moth stole Killshot's dog tags. And that story definitely came into play during this wild free-for-all of a match where they just did everything they could to each other and all the craziness that they did. I especially thought the closing spot was very, very good and very well designed, with Mariposa getting involved. And you had that, hero moment where Killshot got the dog tags back, which was very nice. And I love that Lucha Underground pays attention to little details like that. So, great grudge match. Both Marty the Moth and Killshot looked like megastars by the time this was done. So, Lucha Underground, man, you never know who's going to steal the show. They keep having these star-making matches for these guys, and you never know who's going to rise to the top with these things. And Lucha Underground, I've talked about it before, but they seem to be the best at doing hardcore grudge matches, and they do them really, really well. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this match. And my number 1 favorite match for September 2016 was Dean Ambrose versus AJ Styles for the WWE Championship from Backlash. My main reason for picking this match as number 1 is because AJ Styles is one of my favorite wrestlers, if not my number 1 favorite wrestler today. And I got to see him win the WWE Championship. That is awesome. And it also helps that the match itself was very, very good. And great, even. Just a great main event with so many creative spots between the two. And just high excitement, high energy all throughout. And really a nice capstone to AJ's rise to the WWE title and his run in the WWE. He's been great. He's done very well, and it was very satisfying to see my boy AJ win the WWE Championship. It was really, really cool to see. So that was just the cherry on top. And so I'll pick that as my favorite match of the month. And best wrestling brand of the month, I'm going to give that to the Cruiserweight Classic. That 2-hour finale was amazing and deserves all the praise it got. And it really got the Cruiserweight division off to a huge start. I just hope that they start capitalizing on it and continue building off of it moving forward. But we'll see how it goes. But that is all I have for you in this exceedingly long video. I promise that the space back here will be filled up in the next video, and things will look a little bit more lively. I kind of look like I'm living in an asylum right now, or like in a prison cell or something. I don't know, it feels weird. But anyways, that is all I have for you now. Hope you all enjoy your week, and I'll see you all later.